Do you like anime? Do you like stickers? If the answer to either of those questions were yes, or you're just an otaku like me, go check out sukawaii.com. Here, you can look at all of these beautiful stickers and other anime merch and accessories. They've got My Hero Academia, they've got 7 Deadly Sins, they've got Jujutsu Kaisen, they've even got little cuties like this. Who is that? I don't know, but I'm buying them. I've bought some myself and they're amazing and adorable. Here, look, using the link in the description below, use promo code BAZAAR5 for 5% off of your purchase. That's promo code BAZAAR5 for 5% off of your purchase. I mean, seriously, look how cute! Living with the Bakugous family was, well, deafening. Literally deafening. With Katsuki and Mitsuki screaming at each other 24/7, and Katsuki popping off explosions near you, at you, and in spite of you, it kind of made your brain go numb and your ears ring. You couldn't stand to be in the house long if those two got into an argument. You're their adopted daughter. They took you in as a toddler when Katsuki was just entering kindergarten, so he was older than you by 2 years. And all the same, when your quirk developed, he got pissed that you were even in his family. Your quirk wasn't as cool as his, as he said. You could turn into a bat, and that was it. Shapeshifting from human to bat had its perks, but this was not one of them. Your hearing was sensitive and you couldn't stand a lot of bright light. Your ears became pointier and you grew fangs. Your middle finger nails grew into a claw, but only your middle fingers. Your skin was soft to the touch and never calloused. You applied to UA High School along with Katsuki, despite him screaming at you to forget it. Let's just say you didn't really pass. You were average on the written test and only managed to score a few points, but crawling into a robot and tearing up its insides while you're in your bat form, needless to say, that plopped your happy little ass into a general studies class 2 years behind Katsuki. He was in his graduating year while you were only in your first. You found yourself hanging out with the older kids more than your classmates, though. The older bunch included a messy, purple-haired, tired boy that you were absolutely in love with. Shinso Hitoshi could play with your brain and pick at your nerves, and you would say thank you. Shinso Hitoshi was by far your favorite guy in the school. Katsuki be damned. Kirishima can go harden somewhere else. There was just one problem. He had no clue that you even existed. Or at least you didn't think he knew of your existence. And you couldn't really talk to him. He was much more soft-spoken than the boisterous bunch you had become accustomed to. You were constantly asking them to speak louder, but when you talked to Shinso, you couldn't bring yourself to interrupt him. His voice was so silky when you could hear him, but you hated how his voice was slowly drifting day by day, and the ringing in your ears became more and more prominent. Fingers snapped in your face and you blinked. "Are you ready for your fucking appointment or not? I'm dropping you off and that's it." Katsuki screamed at you, making the hearing in your left ear bounce. You flinch and cup your ear. "Sorry, I'm listening." You sat at your lunch table with them poking your chopsticks at your bowl of katsudon. Leaning on your palm, you sighed. Katsuki stopped screaming at you in favor of talking to Kirishima, which left the rest of the squad to their business. Shinso noticed how out of it you seemed. He couldn't help but overhear the conversation with how much Katsuki was screaming at you. He tapped your bowl a few times with his own chopsticks before you finally looked up at him. Seeing the chopstick on your bowl instead of hearing it made you sad, but the soft smile that Shinso gave you makes you melt on the inside. "Would you like me to go with you?" He enunciated each word clearly and spoke loudly enough for you to hear, even leaning forward a bit just to make sure his words reached you. You had started to learn a little sign language, but you still spoke enough to people. You would continue to learn what you could, so it would also be easier to understand in the long run. Hearing aids would help, but you didn't know how to feel about a piece of machinery in your head all the time. You say yes, and your hand makes the gesture for it. He nods and smiles at you. A small smile that you find absolutely adorable, but you knew it meant absolutely nothing. Just a smile. A smile. A heartache. Nothing more. The Lavenderette finishes food, and you all dump your trays and head back to class. You explain to Katsuki that you aren't a fucking baby and you can go by yourself, when in reality you were just dragging his friend along and you wanted to be alone with him. Your brother scoffed at you, ruffled your hair, and hugged you, saying he didn't give a shit and that it only made more free time for him. He told you to be safe and squeezed you before shoving you off back to class. Katsuki sure had a weird way of showing affection. Kinda like a tsundere, but you'd never tell him that. If you wanted to keep your ribcage, that is. The train ride for you was silent. Shinso kept in his earbuds the entire ride, only sticking close to your side on the crowded train. The few bumps made you fall to the side a bit, but he always offered an arm to catch you. You would thank him each time and readjust your grip on the pole, careful not to let your claws scratch you as you cling to it. You wanted to trim them, but every time you did, they grew back gnarly, and then it became a whole nother trip to the nail salon. Something brushed the hem of your skirt, and you lifted a brow. You smoothed the fabric out and stepped forward, only for it to be tugged again. The train bumped and you fell back a bit, but instead of Shinso's strong arms around you, it was those of a greasily groomed businessman. Your nose wrinkles at how much cologne he wears, and you start to squirm as he manhandled you by the waist and sets you back on the ground again. His smile is a sadistic and perverted one, and his teeth bare before you as he smiles. His breath is that of alcohol and nicotine, and his teeth are yellow with the stains of the substance they smell of. You back away revolted, but he grabs you by the wrist. Now, that's no way to say thank you. He huffs an airy chuckle, and you retch as his breath smacks you like a brick. You can barely make out the words he says, but after playing the voice in your head again, you try to snatch your wrist, but to no use. Thank you. Let go. You pull your arm again, but he drags you close, and finally, as if they couldn't come fast enough, the arms you want are around your waist and tugging your hand free. You grab your wrist as it starts to ache, and you huddle close to the purple-haired boy you've grown to love. Back off of my girlfriend, you disgusting fuck. Shinso sneers and your cheeks turn pink. Girlfriend? You think a little lady like this would want to be with the... The man stops talking, and his eyes pale. His face becomes blank and void of any sort of emotion. Back. Away. Shinso says again, his arms tightening around you, and you hold on to his blazer as the guy turns around and walks to the other side of the train card. After the incident, Shinso hangs on to you for the rest of the train ride to your appointment, and you don't bother to let go of him either. The smell of him calls you, and his finger draws circles on your side. He stuffs an earbud into your ear and lowers the volume. Even as you exit the train, his arm is still around you in a side hug, and he's pulling you along to the audiologist's office. You're the first to break the silence, as you both take a seat in the plush chairs. Girlfriend, huh? He blushes darkly. It just slipped out, okay? You raise a brow. Do you see me as a girlfriend? Shinso hesitates. No. Your heart drops, but he quickly recovers. But I want you to be. A lot. After the first few days of my meeting you, I couldn't get you out of my head. He admits. First time. Shinso, that was 1.5 years ago. You've liked me for 1.5 years? You gawk at him, dumbstruck by his confession, and you watch as he nods. Hitoshi, Bakugous, your name? You both look up to see the doctor holding a clipboard in her hands and a smile on her face. You look back at him, and he smiles gently. We'll talk later, he promises, and you nod. You hold his hand a little longer before you get up and follow the nurse. You'll need hearing aids? Shinso asks. You nod your head, remaining silent on the bus. You had chosen this mode of transportation over the train this time around, and you sat next to Shinso in the seat. It was late. Your appointment lasted longer than expected, and the bad news was playing like a loop in your head. Which makes me kind of sad, you admit with a teary-eyed smile. He waits for you to explain. So you do. I won't be able to listen to Katsuki and Mom scream anymore. I won't be able to hear Kirishima call me the manliest girl he's met. I won't get to listen to Deku ramble about heroes. No more hearing Jaro saying, no more listening to your voice. A tear falls down your cheek, but like many other times today, he catches the offending drop with his thumb and wipes it away. He holds your cheek and kisses your forehead. Then I'll talk your ears off until you can't hear me anymore. I'll take you to band practice with Jiro more often. I'll get Deku to be more of a nerd than he is. I'll make Kirishima call you manly more often, and I'll start fights with Bakugous so he can scream at me and you can watch. I know it'll never be the same with hearing aids, but I swear I'll help you make the most of it while it lasts. He kisses your forehead again, and he starts to whisper in your ears. You lean into his touch, relishing in the comfort of his voice as he promises the world. He keeps talking, and talking, and talking, until you're asleep in his arms, and you're being hauled into your room by your angry brother while Shinso drops you off. He explains to your family as they each make their own promises. And when you wake up, the house is quiet with less explosive wake-ups and soft-spoken good mornings. You smile as the world travels to your eardrums clearly for the first time, enjoying what you have in the moment. I hope you weebs enjoyed this Shinso Hitoshi ex-listener fanfic. If you did, be sure to check out the original via the bottom of the description below the video. Also, if you made it this far and enjoyed the video, please leave a like, leave a comment down below telling me what you thought, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Anyways, that's enough for me. My name is Bazaar, and I'll see you weebs in the next video. Cue the outro.